here at Cedars Union. My background is in drawing and painting, but because I'm an interdisciplinary artist, that just means that I like to explore with a lot of different materials and processes. So I'll mess around with videos and installations, often combining the two. Occasionally alternative photo processes, fibers, sculpture, etc. And in my work, I often look at my own life story and combine it with other people's stories to humanize the experience of not only women and immigrants and children of immigrants, but also look at the external expectations placed on those various groups and the positive and negative impacts that those expectations have. Paper is my main medium, and let's go ahead and look at some examples of some of that. So before coming into Cedars Union, I did this installation called Pero que siga la pinche fiesta, which translates as, but let the fucking party continue. And it was pretty much about how women are always the ones that are throwing parties. They're the ones that are cooking and cleaning and serving, but they're never really able to enjoy the party. And sometimes people will argue that women do have a place at the table, but oftentimes when that's the case, women are made to feel unsafe, uncomfortable, or unwanted. And so when we look closely at this installation, we see that I use papel picado, which is a Mexican traditional practice where you cut designs into tissue paper. And I took that process and Americanized it. So I use a laser cutter to create designs onto more firm paper. And I collaborated with different women and girls to express their different experiences with external expectations. And I hung them all around the installation, focusing a lot on light so that it creates a haunting and overbearing feeling. And then when we look at the table, we see that all of the chairs have clothing that is typically seen as masculine to represent men celebrating this party. And we see them playing a poker game and drinking beer and eating cake. And yet there's a chair with a purse on it that is way in the corner and not really part of the table. Instead, that chair is next to the trash can, and it has screws in it to represent how, again, when we have a place at the table, we're unfortunately made to feel unsafe, uncomfortable, or unwanted. And if you look closely in the trash can, you'll see that there's a beer bottle that has been broken and picked up with a dustpan to represent women who often have to stick in relationships that have domestic violence in them because they're scared of what will happen if they do seek out help. Along with looking at external expectations, I was also looking to pay tribute to the women in my life, especially my mom. And at the time that I was making this work, my mom had recently passed. And so I decided to take the monarch butterfly and pay tribute to her. I kept thinking about the phrase, she was always there, she always will be. It just kept popping up in my mind. And so I decided to take letters that she wrote me and turn them into the letters of this installation and surround them with butterflies of images of her and me or other family members. And they were displayed not only on one wall, but throughout the exhibition. And I picked the monarch butterfly because in the Mexican culture, we believe that the sign, or a monarch butterfly is a sign that our ancestors are coming to visit us. And at the time, I had ideas to use the monarch butterfly to also represent immigration, but I decided to hold off on that and instead prioritize my grief and trying to work through that with my art. And then once I felt a little more prepared to explore the concept of immigration. I took the monarch butterfly and turned it into a more collaborative project. I reached out to everyone I knew that was an immigrant and asked for permission to share their stories. And I'm very grateful that the majority of people that I reached out to gave me the trust to take their stories and let them be part of this much larger installation where the butterflies are being converted to show the map of the United States. And along with that installation, I also had this paper blanket where you can see that I have embroidered some questions on it that have haunted me since I was a little kid. When I was doing exams such as the tax test growing up, there would be questions like, are you a US citizen? What is your nationality? And they always made me nervous. And so for the questions that felt like they hurt a lot, I decided to use embroidery. And for my inner thoughts, I decided to just use my writing to incorporate into the paper blanket. And whenever I put the paper blanket on me, I feel like it showed the purpose of it being insignificant and pointless. And I feel like we're in a time as a society where it doesn't really matter what your legal status is. You can be a citizen, a resident, non-citizen. As long as you're brown or black, you will be discriminated against, unfortunately. And I have the privilege of passing as an American because I speak English so well and people don't think twice about it. But whenever I tell people that I'm actually a dreamer, they're always shocked. And while I'm happy about that privilege, I know that there's some people who will only see my brown skin and pretty much see me as a target because of it. And so I wanted to show that dark reality and hopefully make others feel seen and heard that are in this experience. So unfortunately, I had missed the first lightning talk, so I was really excited to do the second one. And when I was making the presentation for my second lightning talk, I referred back to the first presentation I did, and I was really proud to see that I had completed most of the goals that I had set out for myself during my time at Cedars Union. The only one that I didn't complete was getting represented by a gallery. So if any galleries see this and would like to represent me, feel free to contact me. But I want to go in and talk about some of the goals that I set and did complete. So for starters, I'm really proud of myself for making art that focuses on the immigrant or dreamer experience. All of the work that I make about my personal experience is a tribute to my parents for allowing my siblings and I to live the American dream. Additionally, I'm really happy that I got to meet so many cool people here at Cedars Union and also outside of Cedars. We were given many opportunities to exhibit our work and do workshops, etc. And through all those different occasions, I got to meet some really talented and inspiring artists, and I'm forever grateful for that. Additionally, because I mentioned earlier that collaboration is a big part of my work, I was really excited to collaborate with different artists, not only within the cohort, but also outside of the cohort. And here are some examples of the ways that I did that. Some highlights that come to mind is putting together my solo show with Christina Hahn, and also getting the space to put on a duo show with Jose Vasquez Ramirez, thanks to Ray Alvarez. I'm also working on a collaboration piece with Anna Redman. So yeah, it's been really fruitful to be here. I also had the opportunity to exhibit more. I often was told that I was famous because it felt like I was constantly in an exhibition, which is very sweet. And some of the ones that I'm most proud of is the Journey North that was in the Latino Cultural Center. From start to finish, I was crying while looking at all the incredible artworks in that show, as well as being in the Texas Vignette was also a huge highlight for me. I had never applied. It was my first time applying, and I was really fortunate to have been accepted. And all the work there was just phenomenal. I'm also really proud that I finally got to sell original art. I never really think about selling art, which feels kind of silly, but whenever people ask if my art is for sale, it's always a nice surprise to hear that they're interested in buying it. So I'm really grateful for the people who helped me pay my bills. I am also forever thankful for the new skills that I learned while at Cedars Union, thanks to the programming. As I said earlier, I'm a multidisciplinary artist, so I love to learn different processes and how to use different media, and that was definitely one of the highlights here. Additionally, making people feel seen and heard is a huge aspect of why I make art, and that was probably my favorite thing to do every time that I got to exhibit work. Lastly, these weren't necessarily goals that I had planned when I started at Cedars Union, but there were definitely other gains. So I explored materials while returning to my roots. I participated in critiques often, experienced phenomenal art, hosted workshops, and received a grant through the DMA. So I'm really happy with my time here, and I'm excited to continue to grow as an artist. Oftentimes people ask me, well, what's next? And I think I would like to try to exhibit outside of Texas, as well as apply for different residencies, hopefully get a tenure track teaching position. But yeah, that's all. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you.